All right. Well, I'd like to thank everyone who is joining us today. Welcome to today's first GDG Cloud Montreal and Ottawa virtual meetup of this year, pretty much. Google Next 2020 recap. So we all affected by COVID, so we have to do these events online now. But this is our new reality. I'm Archie, organizer of GDG Cloud meetups in Montreal and Ottawa, and today I will be your host. So who we are, our meetup called GDG Cloud, and we actually right now, today have representatives from two meetups, GDG Cloud Montreal and GDG Cloud Ottawa. We're trying to organize our events every 3 months, and the meetup is about Google Cloud and Google technologies. So please welcome our team of organizers. So my name is Archie, as you know. I'm CNCF ambassador, and I recently joined Google. So you probably see my Nugler hat. I became our hybrid cloud specialist. Tatiana is one of our organizers. She's helping us with the events promotion, and Lilia is our event organizer. Our team in Ottawa is from PTN. He's our data scientist and machine learning specialist. And recently joined Jen as well. She's from Arctic. She's an expert of Anthos and application modernization. What's all about this, right? So what we're doing at this meetup. So this meetup is about Google Cloud, and we're trying to share, all the latest technologies in Google Cloud, user stories. We have different events around that. We're also talking a lot about Google open source, such as TensorFlow, Kubernetes, Spinnaker, Tekton. We had a lot of events in the past around that. We're also organizing DevFest. I don't know how many of you here. Please make a +1 in the chat. I want to see how many of you last year went to our GDG Cloud Montreal 2019 DevFest. If you just can make +1, just to see how many people here. So this event, we had 300 participants, and we organized in the university. And we had 3 tracks around cloud native, AI and machine learning, and security. It was a very, very nice event. And we were hoping to organize another DevFest this year, but unfortunately due COVID, we kind of right now, putting pause on that. And we're thinking if we should organize the virtual one or maybe just wait for the next year. We're also organizing hands-on cloud study jams. So last year we organized AI and machine learning cloud study jam. And we recently also organized before COVID Firebase cloud study jam. So that's what all about our meetups. Just to make sure we are not GDG Montreal. So we actually have another meetup that is called GDG Montreal. It's not GDG Cloud. The difference between those two meetups is that GDG Montreal is mainly talking about Android and about, they also have women in tech makers. So if you joined to this meetup by mistake and you want to hear about Android, you're probably in the wrong place. Otherwise, if you want to learn about Google Cloud, you're in the right place. So today we have Google Cloud Next 20 recap. We have a very packed agenda, so I'm trying to move as fast as I can. And we're going to learn a lot of new stuff in the space of infrastructure, application modernization, security, databases, analytics, and AI and machine learning. So please stay tight with us. At the end, we're also going to do some drawings. To make this event more interactive, we ask you to scan this barcode or go into this link. This is our way to ask the questions. So I'm probably going to show the screen here, if you can see here. So if you go into this link, you'll be able to post your question, and our team of organizers and Googlers will try to answer your question. This way, we can follow up with your question after if we cannot finish answering during the event. And also everybody can see the answers and it can be saved after the event. So please scan the barcode and ask your questions, any questions about Google Cloud, about announcement that we had today. So we'll be happy to help to answer. And we want to make sure this is interactive. I'm actually going to paste the link here as well. Stacy, maybe can you paste the link to the chat so everybody can access it?
Yeah, I already did 5 minutes ago.
Okay, perfect.
No problem.
Another fun fact, we're going to actually draw some nice prizes. So Google TV, I don't know if you already saw the announcement. Google recently released Google TV, so you can watch your favorite movies now, connecting the Chromecast, and it has a nice remote dongle that you can control your favorite applications, either it's a Disney or Netflix or any others. So this is like a main prize, and then we're also going to have some prizes that are keep you safe in the COVID times, which is Kubernetes mask. So all you need to do is fill up the post-event survey, and we're going to draw the prizes right away in front of you. All right, I hope you guys all get excited. Before we're gonna start the event itself, we'll do some quick Meetup announcements. So first announcement is actually our team is growing. I joined Google, so we're probably not going to be able to spend as much time now, but I'd like to help continue organize this event as much as I can from the Google side. But we have new, fresh Meetup organizers. Stacy Virano, he is from Slalom, and I think you already know him. Many of you, he's been Google expert and helping to many customers and people in the community to answer GCP related questions. So I'm super excited he's joining us, and obviously he can run the events in French as well. So very excited for him joining the team. We also have Huda Kadoui. She was our Huda, if you can show your face just to make sure you're here. So Huda is joining us from Seed AI. She was our volunteer for the DevFest, and that's where we met, and she helped us to run the AI and ML track. So she showed interest to join our team, and we were very happy to bring her on board. And then finally, Boris, he just moved from France, and he was helping us to organize the machine learning, Firebase, I think Firebase study jam, and really liked the relationship, and we brought him on board as well. So he has a lot of experience in GCP as well, and he is from the Stack Labs. I hope they will have time to present themselves, but please welcome the team on board. We also migrated to the new platform, which is GDG Community Dev. You probably saw it. A lot of meetups moving away from meetup.com for some reason, and GDG is also taking the same approach. They're going with the new platform. So I hope you had a good, experience so far. And this is a platform that we're using called Bevy, and we're using Bevy platform right now to interact with you. So it seems to be an interesting experience. So we'll see how it's going. We also have now our Twitter, GCP Montreal. If you want to join, please follow us on Twitter. We're going to post announcements. And another exciting news, Google Cloud is growing, as well as Google Montreal also office is growing. There's more and more people joining the team at Google. And they recently announced that they moved to a new office, which is very exciting for our meetup, because now we're going to have a very nice space to organize meetups face-to-face when it's going to be allowed. So I can't wait when the COVID is finishes, and we'll have our events, Google meetups at new Google Montreal offices. So super excited with that. And we have another announcement. So GDG Cloud meetups actually already in Toronto, in Vancouver, in Halifax, and we just have a new chapter that joined to the GDG Cloud in Canada, which is GDG Cloud Quebec. So I'm very excited. If you want to join the community, just go to the GDG Community Dev and join GDG Cloud Quebec City. And they will have their event on first event on November 26th. And I'm hoping we will have more events in French together with them in the future. So stay tuned on that. All right, so now I'm kind of excited to welcome our speakers. If you guys can all join right now. So we have Boris from Stack Labs. He's going to talk about infrastructure update. We have Bjorn. He will talk about databases. So Bjorn is Google working at Google, and he's a database specialist. Myself, Archie. we're going to cover what's new in GK and Anthos. Stacy, we're going to cover the Cloud Next updates on GCP security. And GL, he's actually also a Googler. He will be talking about AI and analytics. And then we have Huda, who we're going to talk about also AI and ML. So a long list of speakers. And before I'm going to pass mic to Boris, I just want to quickly remind that Google Next is the biggest event for Google Cloud. So Google Next 2018 had over 20,000 people in Moscone, and then 2019 was also at Moscone, and it was 30,000 people. So the event was growing, and I think Google were curious where to move the event itself to host more people. And then with COVID, pretty much the problems has been solved, just organizing everything virtual. But like if you're part of our meetup, we always trying to help you to get tickets to the event. So if you can, if you with us, if you need help to get a ticket to Google Next, our meetup usually has some quotas for the community members. So please reach out to us next time. Hopefully, when it's going to be a real event, we'll try to help you with tickets. So this year, Google Next actually take place online, virtual, and it was digital event in July, August, and September. So it was 9 weeks of updates, and obviously not a lot of people during summertime were able to join them and learn what is new. So today's meetup is trying to close that gap, and we want to make sure you guys learn everything what you need. And obviously, maybe you're not interested with everything in Google Cloud, but like we try to split on 2 parts. So the first part we'll talk about more infrastructure security, application modernization, and then the second part we'll talk more about data analytics and AI and machine learning. So if you're just interested with some part, you certainly can benefit from everything. But if you're planning to do some certification in Google Cloud, if you want to get a job with the company that is using Google Cloud, or if you want to work at Google Cloud, I think this event is going to benefit you a lot. And with that, I'm going to pass my microphone to Boris, and he's going to give us an update what happened on week 3 at Google Next on the infrastructure. Are you muted, Boris?
Yeah, I'm here. Allow me to share the screen because it's disabled for me. Yeah, thank you.
Sure. All right. So we're going to post the survey as well shortly, so you'll be able to pretty much start filling up if you need. But it's going to be a very short survey, and we just need to have this as well to improve our events. Boris, I'll pass the mic to you.
Thank you very much, Ashi.
Welcome on board. We're happy to have you.
Thank you, sir. I hope that everybody's seeing my screen. So I'm Boris from Stack Lab, and so I will try to highlight what was shared during week 3. The theme was infrastructure, and week 3 focused on migrating and modernizing workloads on GCP. And the week started with a keynote on that many ways that Google Cloud is helping enterprises complete their digital transformation journey, especially in this context of the COVID-19 pandemic. And if you are already familiar with Google Cloud, you may already know that regions are the cornerstone of the infrastructure. And over the past 4 years, have grown in number to 24. And with the current of 73 zones, you may know that each region has 3 zones, exception for lower region that has 4. And they also announced a new subsea cable, which will run between the United States, the UK, and Spain. And also the VP of the cloud infrastructure also remind everyone that every workload you may run on Google Cloud has 0 net carbon emissions. That's a good thing to know also. And this year you have already they have already launched 4 new cloud regions. I mean by that Salt Lake City, Seoul, Las Vegas, and Jakarta, and there will be 9 upcoming new regions in place like Melbourne, Delhi, Toronto, and Doha. Basically I just say that to remind everyone, yeah, Google Cloud is growing fast, but at the same time, it's simple because other cloud providers don't have their own network, but Google does with its own network. The GM of compute at Google Cloud share a variety of updates, including this one that I'm presenting right now, named Efficient VMs, also named E2, that are cost optimized and which provide what we call lower total cost of ownership. We can also mention consistent performance and flexibility. This offer is currently beta for those who don't know, and it offers similar performance to what we already have in one configuration, but we can tailor the E2 instance with up to 32 VPCUs and 100 plus gigabytes of memory. The best practice will be to check your current workloads. If you have some that run well on E1 or N1, but don't require large configuration, you can consider moving them to E2. But for most demanding workload, we can expect this current offer E2 to deliver similar performance to N1 at a lower cost. Note that these E2 VMs can be launched on demand or as a preemptible VMs. And for those who are sensible with a cost optimization strategy, they're also eligible for a committed use discount. Continuing with the compute, the N2 family is also released, and it is based on AMD chipsets providing excellent price performance. This offer is now public available, and we can also launch them on demand or as a preemptible VM like E2. But to just get started, allow me to say, just go to the console and launch one. But remember, that is a great option for both general purpose workloads and workloads that require high memory bandwidth. So they can benefit from N2D performance and price. At the same time, the N2D instance provides saving up to 30% over comparable N-series instance and up to 39% performance improvement according to the benchmark Google allows us to see. I will move now to storage, and moving on to the storage, you may already be familiar with persistent disk to have high performance block storage for both HDD and SSD. So at Next, they announced an offer named Expanding Persistent Disk Product Portfolio to give us the ability to pick the performance that best suits our workload. The first one is Balance PD that is best suited for most enterprise application, and the target here is to give the best price for general purpose workloads. The second is Performance PD that is designed for customers who are seeking the best price for per POPS, EOPS, I mean by that input output per second for performance sensitive workloads such as your database, or we can also mention persistent cache. And the last one is the Extreme PD that is well suited for the highest performance workload, such as having a large in-memory database or the offer from SAP HANA. I will move now to one of my favorites, what is Firestore High Scale. So continuing with storage, they announced this project named Firestore High Scale that is designed to be the high performance scale out file system to support workloads such as electronic design automation, also video processing, genomics, and we can also include financial modeling. The goal here is to have the ability to easily deploy share file systems that can scale out to hundreds of thousands of EOPS and at the scale of hundreds of terabytes. I will move to one of the best, what I call the best of the announcement in the infrastructure. So for many customers, the on-prem infrastructure may be running VMware. When it comes to move their data center to the cloud, it is a different hypervisor, a different virtual machine file format, and that's where most people start to struggle, because you've got to rewrite or some kind of conversion to get it there. So to make the VMware migration to the cloud easy, Google announced this product named Google Cloud VMware Engine. It is simply an integrated cloud offering that runs VMware simply on top of Google Cloud infrastructure. You may know that VMware creates VCF, that stands for VMware Cloud Foundation, so that all the public cloud providers can run VMware software stack on the public cloud. So it is now possible to create a hybrid cloud that spans a private cloud or a public cloud. The advantage of that is there is a common platform now for virtual machines, so you can move virtual machines from on-prem to cloud, or for a cloud provider back to on-prem. But you end up with a single platform that runs virtual machines, application and services, with some of them in your on-prem environment or some of them on public cloud. So this product is nothing more than a Google version of a public cloud with VMware software running on it. We can also call it Google VMware as a service, because it is simply it's a single SaaS solution, and another fast way for us to migrate our application to Google Cloud. Let me highlight that the fact that this solution includes software licenses, networking services, and infrastructure you need to run VMware natively in Google Cloud. I'm going to use the acronym RAMP. That is something VMware's design expert use, and they basically take the premise: if you change the infrastructure of your environment, you need to consider RAMP, and each letter of the acronym stands for recoverability, availability, manageability, and performance. So I will try to ramp up. So Google Cloud VMware Engine could help you simplify your environment rather than make it worse. So you will ease your migration by reducing duplication of staff, and you are looking at doing something that fundamentally change your platform. You might consider cost optimization and unify management for your environment. And also you can innovate with Google Cloud product. Well, we can also think about some key use cases. First, you can definitely see Google Cloud VMware Engine as an extension of the enterprise on-prem data center. I want to say, by extending the company data center, we are talking about the CapEx versus OpEx, and help infrastructure benefit from consumption options. Second, we can have a third-party disaster recovery at lower cost that will maintain continuing with the on-premise environment. And third, in the wake of this current COVID-19 pandemic, it can provide us the ability to quickly scale out or scale back down, and can enable our company employees to work from anywhere by building and scaling a virtual desktop infrastructure on demand. Okay, so that's the end of my highlight from week 3 about infrastructure. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. I would never thought I would be excited to learn about VMware stuff, but apparently I am, because it's a really nice way for end users to move to the cloud without doing any changes. You just bring your VM as it is, and you connect to the Google service if you need to use database or PubSub or machine learning or anything like that. So it's really easy way to move to the cloud, I guess.
Exactly.
All right, so I'll share my screen. This is going to be week number 7, which is application modernization recap from Google Next. Can you guys see my screen? All right.
Yeah.
So the way I'm going to talk about it, obviously, I'll try to remind what we actually have on Google Cloud for you to run your applications, right? So Boris already spoke about Compute Engine. Another option that we have as well on Google Cloud is App Engine, right? So this is actually one of the first services that appeared on Google Cloud, and this is the way to build highly scalable application that can rapidly scale, and it's going to be fully managed serverless platform that is run by Google. It's actually running on internal system of Google and allows massive scale, and pretty much developers don't need to build anything, any clusters, any infrastructure. They can just deploy their workloads and run their application. So App Engine had 2 options, which is standard and flex, and the standard one is great because it scales from 0 to planet scale. It's fully serverless. However, some of the limitation of this platform was that it's only limited to specific set of languages, right? So that's why Google has Google App Engine Flex, which allows you to deploy a container. So if it's a container, you can pretty much deploy any language of your choice, with some kind of a caveat that you're going to be deploying now not as fast. It's going to be taking some minutes, and you need at least one instance running all the time. Whereas App Engine standard, you can scale to 0, right? So it's probably the most integrated service right now on Google Cloud. But looking into these limitations and also knowing that this is only the Google way of deploying applications, it kind of limits customers sometimes to deploy, let's say, a known application that is packaged. Like, for example, you want to deploy Elasticsearch or you want to deploy maybe another application. It's pretty difficult because it's not standard way of deploying things. And probably that's why Google open sourced its internal project called Borg, which known as Kubernetes. And Kubernetes is actually a container scheduler that is written on Go. And it's become a massive popular project to deploy any type of application, stateless, stateful. You can even run your batch processes and whatnot. And then Google obviously had its GKE offering, which is managed Kubernetes offering. And the exciting news is that GKE turned 5 years, and we kind of trying to celebrate this. And I prepared 5 things that was announced at Google Next, right? So GKE is the Kubernetes the easy way. You just easily can deploy with few clicks Kubernetes cluster that will be managed by Google. And obviously, there's a lot of things that you need to learn. So deploy the Kubernetes cluster is easy, but the hard part is after that, right? So we need to figure out how to deploy all these things. And also there's a lot of interesting features, right, that you can take advantage of because it provides so much flexibility. So I chose my 5 best announcements, which is the scalability, data plane v2, new features in Ingress, Windows container workloads, and migrate VM to containers. So I'll start with the first one. Google announced in GKE 1.18 support for 15,000 nodes in the Kubernetes cluster. This is 3 times more than Kubernetes open source has been tested, which is fantastic news for the customers who has large clusters. And obviously, like companies like Twitter, they've been running their solution on Mesosphere before, and they want to take advantage of Kubernetes, but Kubernetes was not as scalable as Mesosphere. So Google has to push the limits, and now you pretty much can out of the box deploy 5,000 nodes, and if you get a request for the special approval, you can actually deploy 15,000 nodes and run your workload. So it's a very exciting news for everybody. A second news that you probably may heard or not. Google Cloud GKE is moving towards a new data plane for the networking. So if you remember, Calico was one of our guests at previous meetups. Actually, Google Cloud GKE is moving to a new networking called Cilium, and it's based on the eBPF technologies versus Calico used IP tables. So it's much faster. It's using Linux kernel, and it improves the speed, performance, security, visibility. Things like you don't need to have any more proxy to load balance your services. It's going to be done through the eBPF much faster. It has DDoS protection, and it's also offering a lot of interesting features that is not available in Calico, such as L7 aware network policies. You can have FQDN-based egress policies, and it also has integration with Istio. All of these things are still coming in to be integrated in GKE. However, it's already been announced that Data Plane V2 is supporting Kubernetes network policy logging. So now you can actually out of the box get logs if somebody tried to penetrate in your cluster, and you'll be able to observe this behavior. This is something was not available in Calico, so customers already can take advantage of this feature. And the nice thing about Data Plane V2, it's using Kubernetes OSS APIs, so you don't need to migrate anything as you used before Calico. You just just deploy a new cluster, and all your manifest will work out of the box. That's very exciting. If you're running GKE, and obviously you will need to expose your application outside, this is where you're going to be using ingress and external load balancers, internal load balancers. If we're talking about GKE external ingress, it has a lot of new features and supporting things like Cloud CDN, Google Cloud Armor, Cloud DNS, identity-aware proxy. This is something customers really like to use and take advantage when they're exposing their application. There's also support for SSL managed certificates. You can also see the logging and alerting now from the load balancer, so this is very, very helpful. But what was new is actually GKE now also has internal ingress, which is like internal application load balancer. It's exactly the same as GKE external ingress, but it can be exposed internally, so you don't need to use public IP addresses. And it has all this similar features that GKE external ingress has. Another announcement was the ingress for Anthos. With ingress for Anthos, it's now actually you can have a global ingress, so you can connect two clusters, let's say, running in different regions, and they will have one ingress endpoint across them, which is pretty interesting for the customers who is running in multiple continents. Another announcement is Windows Server Containers is GA on GKE. So now you can run side-by-side Windows containers and Linux containers on GKE cluster, which is like pretty much the first cloud provider that announced GA for Windows support. And finally, there's a nice feature that, if you have a lot of VMs and you hoping to move to Kubernetes, there is a capability right now. If you go into the Kubernetes dashboard, you'll see migrate to containers. What you can do with that, you can actually migrate from VM to Kubernetes. So if you run the migration, it will basically will provide you container image, Docker file, data volume, and Kubernetes YAML file that you can then basically put into your CI/CD pipeline, and you can deploy your applications on Kubernetes cluster, which is super exciting. And the nice thing about this tool is that you can migrate both Linux workloads and Windows workloads, which is pretty unique functionality. And if you're not very familiar with Kubernetes, I think it's a good starting point. And finally, I think it's important to know that Google is still have a huge commitment to the community and supporting Kubernetes, Knative, Istio. It's still top contributor to Kubernetes, as you can see here, yellow. This is Google's contribution, and Red Hat and VMware is following. But Google is still committed, and this year, for example, a huge investment in terms of improving Istio project, right? So Istio has completely been changed from the architecture perspective. It took a lot of time and effort from all the community to make Istio more scalable, easy to use. All right, so we talked about Kubernetes Engine. Another exciting feature in Google Cloud right now is Cloud Run. So Kubernetes Engine is great. It's easy to create, to deploy. It's easy to manage. But the problem is that it's very difficult to actually learn the Kubernetes itself. It takes smart people in the company to figure out how to deploy Helm charts And we have the whole meetup, right? I'm organizing CNCF meetup as well. So it's a huge ecosystem that you need to learn, but obviously it's great capabilities. But with Cloud Run, you can actually make an easy access to the container world, and you can deploy your containers, functions, applications, and events. And the nice thing about Cloud Run is fully serverless. So you don't really need to deploy Kubernetes cluster. You can basically just schedule your container. If you have a Docker file, you can go and up and running and deploy application. So this is basically the evolution from Kubernetes to Cloud Run. And with Cloud Run, you can deploy in seconds. You can take advantage of, global load balancer, custom domains, and you can deploy any language, any library. It's portable, and the most important thing is built on Knative API. So it's a project that contributed by other large companies like VMware, Red Hat. So it's a project that is used by many others. So whatever you're trying to deploy to Cloud Run is portable, so you're not locked in a specific way of deploying things. And just to let you know that there's two types of Cloud Run. There is Cloud Run fully managed. This one is running on Google infrastructure. It's super secure, fast, and this is probably the first thing that you need to look into when you want to use the Cloud Run. Another option, if you have, let's say, specific workloads, if you want to take advantage of GPUs, you can actually deploy Cloud Run on your Kubernetes cluster, and you can, using Kubernetes API, Knative APIs, you will be able to deploy applications. And at Google Next, there was actually so many announcements about Google Cloud Run, because this service is becoming so popular, and it's kind of fixing all the limitation that App Engine had, and it's easier than Kubernetes. So a lot of interest, and there's a lot of contribution in development of this project. So just to mention few is Cloud Run is now supporting VPC access. That means if you deployed your application to Cloud Run, it can connect to your Cloud SQL or PubSub or any cloud services in GCP. You can also take advantage of Cloud CDN, Identity Aware Proxy, Cloud Armor. Apart from the applications, you can also have events for the Cloud Run. This is using Knative eventing. So you can have also introduce different workflows for your events. So you can connect to PubSub and other things. So it's a very interesting approach that right now available for customers. It also provides you can, if you're using Cloud Run managed, it has kind of a limitation in terms of how big is your container. So right now it's 4 gigs and 4 vCPU, but this limit is always growing, and you can deploy unlimited number of containers pretty much, and even if it's one container, you can configure concurrent request for this container. So you can configure up to 80 concurrency, and the system automatically scales. So it's a very nice. And one of the biggest requests for Cloud Run was to have minimum instances. So Cloud Run managed, by default, it scales down to 0. And sometimes if you have a Java application or slow starting application, you don't want your application completely go down to 0. So Google introduced minimum instances feature, where you can pretty much say to Cloud Run not to scale down to 0, but scale down to 1. And finally, Cloud Function. This is very similar to used for the functions. Basically, it's great for the functions. So think Lambda. So this is pretty much the way you can deploy application. And I try to at the same time to tell what is new on Google Next, right? Finally, it's a lot of times that customers they want to take their own time in terms of moving to cloud. It's not easy sometimes just to take everything and move to the cloud. So it would be great to have a platform that will be able to have similar experience that we have with Kubernetes, but also on-prem and multi-cloud and hybrid cloud. And if you probably heard a couple of years ago at Google Next 18, Google announced Anthos. So Anthos is a managed application platform for enterprises that want fast modernization and greater consistency in a hybrid and multi-cloud world, right? So we're probably going to have just a separate event for that, but I'll just quickly go over the main components, right? And most important thing about Anthos, it's built on open source, right? So there's no vendor lock-in. It's all Kubernetes, Istio, Knative, using open policy agent for policies. So the first component is container and cluster management, right? This component provides you a single pane of glass view to all your Kubernetes clusters that running on different cloud providers and GCP. And it's pretty much built into GCP console. So if you're familiar with GCP, you can just bring the cluster into GCP and it's going to be all available for one single pane of glass. And in the beginning, the announcement was that it supports GCP on-prem running on VMware, and the more things coming in future. And so at Google Next 2020, there was a lot of interesting announcements. So now Anthos can run on AWS, so it can deploy GKE cluster on AWS. It can also deploy GKE cluster on Azure, which is coming pretty much very soon. And if you already have, let's say, your AKS and AKS cluster, you can attach them as well. So it's called attached clusters. And finally, with also announcement of you can run Anthos on bare metal and on the edge. And once you have all these Kubernetes clusters, you now can take advantage of Anthos Service Mesh, which is based on Istio, and Google provides enterprise support and manages your Istio solution. You can also use Cloud Run for Anthos and Cloud Build for Anthos, which is based on Tecton. You can take advantage of GitOps engine, which is basically help you to configure all your fleet of Kubernetes clusters and policy for your Kubernetes clusters, and also provides out-of-the-box monitoring and logging and tracing for your workloads. There's actually a lot of announcement that is happening on top of Anthos. So one of the announcements at Google Next was hybrid AI with Anthos. So what you can do now, you can deploy a ML and machine learning APIs onto Anthos on-prem. So basically bringing your capabilities of AI and ML closer to your workloads if they're running on-prem, for example. So one of the examples is speech-to-text solution on-prem. So you can deploy the speech-to-text APIs on your Anthos clusters on-prem, for example, and you can use it for different solutions. So it's a lot of information for you, but I'm probably going to stop here. Just to recap that, Anthos is something, it's basically GKE that can run anywhere. You can run it on-prem, you can run it on VMware, you can run it on different cloud providers, and you can use it with attached clusters. And then you can take advantage of the Service Mesh and Cloud Run capabilities. So if you have any questions around GKE or Cloud Run or Anthos, I'll be happy to answer. So I'll be monitoring questions. And with that, I would like to pass my microphone to Stacy, who will gonna cover what's new in security space.
Cool. Thanks, Archie. Just gonna be able to, if you stop sharing, I'll be able to share. Thank you. All right. Let me know if you see my screen. Looks like you. Yes. Okay, cool. Because I'm not seeing it, so for some weird reason. Okay, just give me 2 seconds. Can you? So I'm just gonna go back present mode. Awesome. So yeah. Can you just reconfirm that you can see my screen because I'm really not seeing it. So I just want to make sure. Here, RT, just vocally.
It doesn't show on your window, but we can see it.
Okay, yeah, that's weird. Okay, thank you. Hi everyone. We're going to cover the security piece coming from week 4 of the next on air. So just quick intro myself, just to the time and stop pitching on on Slalom also. So yes, I'm a solution principal at Slalom in Montreal. Focus on architecture, DevOps, security. Certified architect, security engineer. Worked on the ACE guide also for certification. So also like Vault certified, but just as an FYI, and also like we're like we're hiring like Google. So feel free. So that's enough for my ego. So I'm just gonna skip to the interesting stuff. So the idea is, overall a GCP fanboy. So really love everything that's on that platform. So I want to cover some of the highlights from the security piece that happened on week 4. One of them, and basically I have probably like 9 or so-ish announcements. So the first one was around confidential VMs. Basically, it's simple. So confidential VMs are basically like a way of making sure that, because in GCP you have security at rest and security in transit, but if for some reason you needed a workload that also need encryption while in use, confidential VM actually brings that. So it's based on, like many things from Google, which is why I love that platform. It's based like on open source items. Like this one is the Anthos framework. So that sits on top of the shielded VM option that you have in GCP. So with all this together, it gives you, and also the power of the AMD EPYC processor. There's a link to hardware. Gives you that possibility of being, everything that's been processed in memory also being encrypted. Cool thing also that was not announced at Next, but actually like from the announcement from week 4 until now, on GKE 118, this will be available also. So your nodes in your GKE cluster will also be able to leverage the confidential VM piece. So for any workload that need that extra layer of security, that's a pretty sweet feature. And I'm sure all the security buff will also be super stoked about confidential VMs. Going next, other announcements, Private Service Connect. Basically, just see it as the best way to secure your services. So like GCP or third-party one, kind of see it like take all the services and wrap it in a zero trust approach. In a simpler way, just by looking at the the animation. But I mean the idea is that the Private Service Connect, I see it like a bouncer or your Gandalf of service access, like you shall not pass type of thing. Is that everything needs to be authorized through this this endpoint, but also like if service A that's in Google needs to talk to service B that's on-prem on your side, one of your services. It goes through this, but again, by doing so, stays on the Google network. But if your on-prem service needs to talk to an external service, let's say like Snowflake, then again, going through this and staying within the GCP fabric makes the connection and keeps things secure. Just thinking about like moving your stuff from like on-prem to GCP, just like it's just transferring information. So I just want to hit a service. Transferring stuff in the bucket, but making sure that everything's private. The Private Service Connect is basically your best friend. So moving along, I'm gonna try to catch up with so that we don't end up too late. Big one, it's a Certificate Authority Service, or the CAS. So basically, that's a big one, and there's a lot of text on the slide, but I have notes. I just want to if you just think of anything that you need to do when it comes to certificate right now, like in if you're doing DevOps, if you have a CI/CD pipeline, or if you're and you're deploying microservices, or you're just exposing APIs, but you want to make sure you're able to rotate those short-lived certificates, making sure that your ingress load balancers or anything that you've put that that you need to manage. Having something like their Certificate Authority Service, which is in beta, right now, but will be GA soon, is awesome because it's fully managed, it scales, it hooks up with other services that are out there, like Venafi or other ones. There's also a piece on integration with Vault, actually Core Vault, to be precise. Basically, like on that one, if you're using the like the certificate engine from Vault, that integration makes sure that if you're actually hitting Vault and managing certs, it will proxy it to the CAS. So basically, CAS becomes like a backend to the Vault piece. Which is great. So that way you can still talk to Vault the way you talked before, and just end up leveraging that managed piece from Google. So again, keep in mind, like and just kind of a segue to what Archie was saying before, about Anthos or like Kubernetes with GKE and everything. But everything we're putting on those things, like a lot of those are like short-lived services, or we need to rotate the certificate. Not every before, oh yeah, I'm going to renew my certificate in a year and I'm good. Like that doesn't work. For everything that's short-lived, we need to be able to give even a 1 hour time to live certificate for a cert. So if you want to be able to manage those in a way that makes sense, keeping in mind that some of the providers of certs out there don't even offer an API, then you need something that makes sense, that you can manage, that scales, and that you have control over. So the CA service is really sweet for that. Just looking at my notes if there's anything I've missed. And mentioning, the fact that it's managed is super simple to use. One little note on the fact that this is a beta service. Like right now, you can have fun with it. You'll see the little pop-up saying that any CAs you're creating right now will be destroyed when they go GA. So have fun and everything, but you'll need to recreate this the CAs when this goes live. I'm guessing I'm just gonna before the end of the year, it's gonna be a Christmas present, like CAs in GA. So yes, I think I had 2 slides on that, but I talked over them. So yeah, don't need to cover this one. So the other one is going forward is the API gateway. So the API gateway is basically like I was mentioning for other services. Leveraging other services out there, either open source or from community or the vendor. So this one is built on Envoy. So it's something that right now runs with the serverless side of things. So in the future, it will embed everything that we need, either for GKE or GCE. So API gateway at one point will probably take place of the current endpoint offering. For anything right now that's GKE and GC, because this is really focused on serverless, just keep in mind that APG is or even the service mesh side can be your friend, and on the service mesh side, Envoy still comes and say hi. So that was a quick one on the API gateway. Just trying to keep on track. Next one is the Web Risk API. Super simple. That's one is a short one. It's basically that service detects malicious URL on website, and in your client apps. So just to make it simple, and there's a list maintained by Google of those unsafe web resources. So that like millions of unsafe URLs. So let's say there's somebody that posted something in your WordPress site or whatever that's a bad or malicious URL. The Web Risk API, if you're leveraging it, could actually scrape out and filter those malicious sites. So just a simple one, but again, something that's really useful for everybody. Next, there's 3 things on Cloud Armor, basically, just gonna go down through each of them. One of them is the Cloud Armor Managed Protection Plus in beta. So that's a mouthful. It's basically it adds it's a subscription, it's a yearly subscription that adds DDoS mitigation and WAF to your Cloud Armor. So there's still the default tier that's free, that's there, not a problem. But if you need more, there's that's where the Cloud Armor Managed Protection Plus comes in handy. Again, it's fully managed, so there's those added value items that you get. You're basically leveraging everything that's from the Google network at the edge and bringing it closer to you without having to worry about actually managing those. Next one, the named IP list. It's put it simple, not to digress too much. The idea is that, well, sometimes you want to like whitelist a few. You want to whitelist an IP list of, let's say, you're doing the example here, Cloudflare. Everybody has the list of IPs that keeps on like adding or removing, but you want to keep current. So like if I whitelist X and X as a variable side, like a constant changing numbers of IPs, I don't want to hire somebody full time just to check like, hey, do I need to add that or remove that? This basically adds the feature of you're able to create IP list based on known sources that Google trusts and maintains the list. So you say, hey, I want to be able, please whitelist Cloudflare stuff. Then you'll be able to take that list and bring it in Cloud Armor, so you don't have to worry about those. So just think when you're trying maybe to like whitelist a service that's coming from another provider, which is the case in Cloudflare. Well, say what's their range? Like what's constantly changing? I don't know, because they won't tell me, or they tell me on the website, but it's like half a page of IPs, and it may change the next day. So this is a great feature to make your life easier on the whitelisting side. Third one was the new WAF rules, like for RFI, LFI, and RCE. So just for people, RFI is remote file inclusion, so like some stuff that can be injected in PHP. The LFI, which is local file inclusion, it was somebody like uploading something, so I'm going back to that nasty WordPress that's open and running PHP. So that's somebody that would upload an HT access because you allow them to, and then they change redirect rules, and every time you hit your website, you end up on some weird website that has nothing to do with you. So that's an LFI. And the RCE file, which is the remote code execution, just basically those things where you receive an Excel spreadsheet attachment, and in it there's some malicious code that installs malware, so that it hijacks your stuff. Or what they should do actually is that malware should actually redirect you to Google Sheets, so you stop using Excel, but that's something else. And you actually would like that one. So that's it. So basically, those WAF rules embed those RFI, LFI, and RSC rules that are coming from the list that's managed. So everything that's OWASP list, they're embedded in there. So like pre-chewed list, you can protect against, so you don't have to worry about that. Almost done here. So the other one is the security best practice center service, which is pretty sweet. Basically, just see it as a collection of best practices. So it's a website. You just go there, and then you have access to like the security footprint for like Foundation, the Anthos security footprint. So anything that you want to put in place and say, hey, what's Google's recommendation in terms of security? You have a nice little place to go, and then if you go to the cloud.google.com/security/best practices, you can see them. So how do you do like key management? You want to deep dive, and that's pretty good. So again, a good source of information. So feel free to visit this one. It's a great source of information. And the last one, security showcase. So just if segueing from the website, like this is really basically a YouTube playlist with everything covering security, like network security, endpoint security, and a bunch of other stuff. So there's like right now it's almost 50 videos that are there, which is pretty great. So a great source of information for everyone. That's basically it. If you have any questions, feel free to go to the Dory site. And back to you, Eric.
All right. Thank you, Stacy. Fantastic. If you guys have any questions for Cloud Armor security, Stacy is going to be here helping to answer questions. And I'll ask Bjorn, our next speaker from Ottawa, actually, Bjorn at Google in Ottawa. How is Ottawa doing, Bjorn?
Ottawa's awesome. We had the first snow. I'm looking forward to ice fishing season. It's not far out. It's going to be a few more weeks.
Yeah. Happy to have you over.
All the good stuff.
If you can go to the previous slide, I just want to tell people that we already have a survey. So scan the code. I'm going to also paste the link for the survey itself, and start providing information. We ask just some easy questions just to help to build our events a little bit better. and feedback what we can do and what we should do and whatnot. So please help us to shape our events, and I'll pass it to you, Bjorn. Thank you so much.
Cool, yeah, and I'll recap data management. And data management obviously is at the very core of what we do at Google. Google's mission is to organize the world's information, make it universally accessible and useful, and data management is at the core of that. So obviously that's also something that's super important in Google Cloud. And the goal of data management for Google Cloud Platform is to really provide the best home for any kind of database. And this slide just shows probably not even the whole picture of all the databases that we support. The common theme that we do, like that we're after when we support databases, is we want to make databases fast. We want to make them perform well. Databases have to be reliable. So any downtime for a database is typically really bad, because you might be able to scale your application and have multiple copies of that, but keeping multiple copies of databases becomes quite complicated when you think about consistency and all those things. So reliability is really important. And then as much as possible, we want to make the operation of databases as easy as possible. So get to either no-ops, a fully managed cloud service, or get at least to a kind of low-ops model where customers don't have to do as much management of databases and really take away some of the mundane tasks. So with that out of the way, I want to highlight a few of our database products, and then I just want to talk about 2 or 3 things each that we announced either at the Cloud Next or within the last 12 months. So the first one is around Cloud Spanner, which is our database to basically marry 2 worlds. So on one hand, you have the ease of developing against SQL and the relational data model and being able to run joins. On the other end, you have NoSQL databases that can scale and typically provide a lot more reliability because of the way they scale, the way you can keep copies of data around, the way you can scale the database out of just a single region. And Cloud Spanner has a very unique architecture that addresses both of these things. So you get the manageability and the ease of developing and using SQL, while at the same time benefiting from performance and scale as if it was a NoSQL database. And so the kind of new things that we announced around Spanners, we announced additional regions or additional multi-regions for multi-regional Cloud Spanner deployments. And what these multi-regions give you is they give you a 5 nines SLA, which is really unheard of in the industry. So 5 nines of SLA for managing relational transactional data that can be globally distributed. One of the things that we added to Cloud Spanner was user-managed backups. This was one thing that has been missing. You were always able to take your data out of Cloud Spanner and basically export it, but that looks more like a logical export. Now you are able to actually schedule your own backups that are consistent to a single point in time, and you can quickly clone and restore it from these backups. Another thing that we added is a local emulator, because as awesome as Cloud Spanner is, if you want to develop an application, you probably don't want to spin up a cluster of several tens or dozens or hundreds of database nodes before you get started or for your development. So we released a local emulator that you can run on your machine, and it'll basically interpret the Cloud Spanner SQL dialect, and it'll work just like Cloud SQL. Did I say Cloud SQL? Spanner. But run on a local machine. And then lastly, what we also did was we added a lot of support around SQL. So there's support for new data types. There's support for foreign keys now. And lastly, we also added support for Hibernate, which is the most popular probably ORM mapper for like applications. So if you're writing an application in something like Java and you use Hibernate today, then using Spanner as a backend for that becomes super easy, because you just have to change out the backend for that. So those are the high-level changes for Spanner. And then Bigtable is our other product that scales very, very well. It's our NoSQL key value store, right? So that allows you to very quickly get either a single key or a range of keys, and also handle large amounts of updates or inserts into Bigtable. So the 2 or 3 big changes that we made, or that we announced in Bigtable, is one is similar to Spanner. We now also allow user-managed backups. Again, before we had user-managed backups, you were able to always extract your data and get it out of Bigtable, but it wasn't like the most comfortable or convenient way to do it. So now if you want to protect against like admins or developers accidentally overwriting or deleting data, or you want to get your data out of whatever region you're in Bigtable in, user-managed backups are the way to do that. The other thing we added in terms of security, we now allow table-level IAM. So before that, you had like basically the whole data set was something that you would grant access to. Now you can grant access on a table level, and we also added more audit logging around big table access and admin access, just to increase the security of that. And then lastly, also to make it again easier for people to adopt Bigtable, we also now support a single node config, where if you want to just get started with Bigtable or you want to develop against Bigtable, we have a model where you can run a single node Bigtable server in production. Google Cloud SQL is our fully managed service for SQL databases. So we did announce the last database that we announced support was SQL Server about I think a year and a half ago. We added more versions to that. We also, as I've always supported MySQL and Postgres for a very long time. So what is new in Cloud SQL? The first thing that is new, we announced this shortly before Google Cloud Next, was we have committed use discounts. So the idea of a committed use discount is if you know that your service will be running for a month or a year or several years, and it'll be rather steady in usage, then you can benefit from these committed use discounts. So we've had them in infrastructure for, I want to say forever, but Cloud SQL didn't have them. Cloud SQL had what we call sustained use discounts. But on the other hand, SQL databases are also a very, very steady, like people typically know that they will run this database for a year or two. So we added committed use discounts, where if you know that you will run a certain number of CPUs or vCPUs in memory for a certain amount of time, and you tell us about this beforehand, we will give you a great discount on that. And then while that sounds somewhat like you're basically trading in your flexibility and elasticity, we still allow you to take your committed use discounts for Cloud SQL and change your database size. You're basically just committing to a number of resources, and we don't care if you use MySQL, Postgres, or you switch from one to the other. The other thing that we improved, and this was listening to user feedback, is maintenance control. So if you look at all of these databases, we will do things like patching and security updates for you. But what that means in return is that we have to get a maintenance window where we might reboot your instance, and you might lose connectivity to these instances for a short period of time. And when we first, or like until we launched these new features, you had some control of creating blackout windows, but you had little idea of when this would happen or controlling this. So we gave you better controls of controlling what times and days you feel comfortable with, and we also did a lot better job of informing you a week in advance of upcoming maintenance. So you can better control that, better work around it. And then the last thing we added, we've had high availability in Cloud SQL for a while. It used persistent disks and regional persistent disks for that, but it was still a regional service. Every Cloud SQL instance that you would spin up would be a regional service, and we just introduced cross-region read replicas or cross-regional replicas that can also be promoted to masters. So what that allows you to do is it allows you to create a replica in a different region, so one in the East Coast, one on the West Coast, and take advantage of that. And last thing I want to talk about is something that we also introduced, we talked about a lot at Google Cloud Next, which is our bare metal solution. And the context for this solution is that we have a lot of enterprise customers that have, I want to say legacy databases or enterprise databases, and they might only be certified against certain physical hardwares, or they must use a certain SAN vendor, or they have licensing requirements that are very much tied to physical cores. And some of these enterprise databases are either incompatible or harder to run on something like Google Cloud. But customers still want to move to Google Cloud or a cloud, and they want to modernize their applications. They also want to slowly modernize their databases. Maybe they want to move from these database systems to something like Cloud Spanner or Cloud SQL or other database systems. And so our bare metal solution is an easy on-ramp for that. So basically what it is we provide best-of-breed servers that are typically certified against these database or applications, together with high-performing SAN storage that kind of look and feel a lot like on-prem service. So if you're familiar with running stuff on-prem or in a colo, this looks a lot like that. And it's still as close as possible to actual Google Cloud. So we don't own these locations. They're actually managed by partners. That's also a way of getting out of running things in Google Cloud, but they're very close to Google Cloud, where we have an interconnect latency of less than 2 milliseconds. Typically also, like we reach 1 millisecond, but I think 2 milliseconds is what we guarantee. And all of that interconnect is managed by the partner or by us, and you purchase this whole bare metal solution through the Google Cloud Marketplace. So the big announcement here is that we have this, and it's generally available. It was in 5 regions when we had Google Next, and we're rolling out more regions as we come. It also came with, like, at least for Oracle, we provided a tool pack that allows you to quickly spin up or even clone an existing database. So that's another thing that we're looking at, is making it easy to manage legacy databases, enterprise databases on a sort of an on-prem system that is still very close to Google Cloud, so you can easily migrate to Google Cloud or use application servers in Google Cloud. And I think or to JL.
Thank you so much, Bjorn. Really appreciate that you took some time from work and joined the event. You were always helpful to organize the event, so can't wait to see you again. So if you have any questions to Bjorn, databases, Dory is waiting for you. Thank you for sending questions. So far, we get some of them, and we're trying to answer them right away. So thank you, Bjorn. And we're inviting GL from Montreal, Google office, to talk about analytics and machine learning and AI, which is very exciting, I hope, for some of the attendees as well here.
Yeah, thanks, Archie. Can you see my screen? Yes,
Yep.
That's a yes.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. So Bjorn covered the data management part, and of course, once you've got a lot of data in databases, there's always a need to do some analytics on that. So I'm going to cover what was announced during week number 5, the data analytic part. So we announced a lot of different stuff, and because we are a bit late already today, I will focus on some very, very specific aspects. We announced data migration services. We announced data integration and data fusion services on Google, on GCP. We announced data catalog capabilities. We also announced, do I have a pointer? Yeah. We also announced the connected sheet, so the ability to get data from data warehouse in a Google sheet, or even in a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. We also announced integration with Looker that we acquired last year. But what I'm going to focus on today is really the BigQuery announcement that we did. So the key announcement that we did in September was really around BigQuery Omni, which is our multi-cloud strategy for analytics. So for those of you already familiar with BigQuery, the enterprise data warehouse, fully managed serverless on cloud, on GCP. What we announced is that starting from now, we're going to be able to integrate with AWS, and a bit later, early next year, with Microsoft Azure as well. What means that the BigQuery control plane, the BigQuery UI will still be one unique interface, but through queries, you're going to be able to do queries on data that is within BigQuery storage, but also that is stored on AWS S3 and or on Microsoft Azure. Very same query, very same interface, ability to go through multiple cloud providers. So this is neat, and for data integration and ability to leverage what already exists in different organizations, this is a really important announcement. From Archie covered Anthos earlier today. I'm going to just a word on that. My perspective is that BigQuery Omni is probably the best example of what Anthos can do. We leveraged the Anthos technology to be able to deploy Google Cloud into Amazon Cloud and into Microsoft Cloud. So it's a real concrete application of Anthos with a Google product, which is BigQuery Omni. Another announcement that we did at Google Next is around materialized view. And so this is a new kind of view in BigQuery that you can leverage for more advanced caching. So the view, they're going to be, they already exist. They are zero maintenance, self-tuning, performance. So zero maintenance because you don't have to take care of what is happening with the underlying tables of the views. Everything is automatically refreshed. And the materialized view will contain pre-computed result set, so pre-computed information based on a query. So self-tuning, no maintenance. Also, what we're doing as well is that if you do have queries that are using tables and you create materialized view after that, the internal BigQuery engine will reroute those those existing queries to the materialized view to give you better performance without any change to existing code. I'm going to briefly cover this one. So part of BigQuery as well, the data Q&A. In a nutshell, it's the ability to query the data warehouse without being SQL proficient. So in BigQuery, as you may know, if you are a BigQuery user, as in a typical data warehouse, you do SQL queries to be able to create, modify, update stuff. With that ability, the data Q&A, it's going to be through natural language instead of SQL query. So of course, we're not targeting technical people with that new capability, but really business people that then will be able to query the data warehouse by themselves without technical knowledge and SQL knowledge. The last I'm going to cover today, to make sure I leave enough space and time for Huda after, the last on analytics is BigQuery ML. So BigQuery ML is something that already exists for some time now. It's the ability to do machine learning within BigQuery, so you don't have to be a data scientist. You don't need to have a PhD in data science to be able to do a query with BigQML. It's kind of a SQL statement that you do, and with that specific keywords, you're going to be able to create a classification or a regression and so on and so forth. Everything in blue on that slide is new. Before 2020 or before Next, we were supporting logistic regression, linear regressions, and k-mean clustering. And we have added a lot of additional ML capabilities directly within BigQuery through BigQuery ML. Archie, do you want me to talk about that?
Well, just don't forget to, I see a lot of people filling up surveys. So, but if you want to get a Google TV and if you want to win some Kubernetes masks, so please fill up the post-event survey, and I'll let you continue, GL, in your favorite topic, which is AI and ML.
Yeah, it is definitely. Thank you. Time check, 51. Okay. I
think you
won't
have time. GL, you have time. Don't worry about pressure, because we have time till 1:30. So it's fine. Don't worry.
No, but I want to make sure that Huda will have enough time to cover her part. Okay, so this is another view of the Google Cloud AI capabilities. Depending on what your role is, what you're interested, you may be more interested in the foundation, the infra structure, or more about APIs and different modules, or more interested, if you're not a techie, more interested in services and solutions. What I'm going to cover first is really what we announced at Next in September. So we had a couple of announcements regarding AI solutions. So the high-level solution, ready to use, ready to implement without code, without development, without a lot of effort. We have two different AI solutions, the functional solutions, which are basically horizontal to all the industries. Huda will cover CCAI and Document AI in a minute, or a couple of minutes. And we have the vertical solutions. And they are really business solutions that we have developed to be able to address very specific business problems. So we have, I think it's 24 and counting different solutions, maybe more. We have some in retail, healthcare, financial services, gaming, manufacturing, public sector. So a lot of different stuff. I will just talk about a few of them, so two of them. Recommendation AI, which is a beta offering today, targeted mostly at the retail industry. And the recommendation AI is really when you want to have a recommendation engine, but you don't want to create the recommendation, the engine by yourself. You don't want to create the model. You want to use something that already exists. So we provide that model, that ML model for you, and we give you the opportunity to ingest specific data in that model so that the recommendation is aligned with your environment. So if we think about a website, a commercial website, we're going to provide the model for sure, but you will provide the data catalog, not the data log, the data catalog. You will provide the user event data, everything that is specific to your industry. You will ingest that data into the model, into the engine. Then you will be able to customize a bit the engine, selecting the recommendation type that you want to apply, the different objectives that you have, and there's a couple of additional customization available out of there. And then that's it. Mostly the engine is available. There's APIs that are available to include in any kind of application, so you can just do recommendations on related products or recommendation based on the user profiles and so on and so forth, based on the prediction of API that is available through that recommendation AI component. Another industry solution that we have also announced and still in beta as well is the cloud demand forecasting. This one is also very, very interesting for anyone in the retail industry, or I would say anyone who has already worked in the logistic ecosystem. To be able to forecast or demand and adjust inventory based on what is going to happen in terms of peaks and sales and seasonalities. It's critical to those industries. So the demand forecast offering is a machine learning offering. It comes with a pre-defined model by Google that we have created. So an ML model. That ML model is also enriched by signals. We call that signals. If you're familiar with the Google Trends, you may understand better. So everything that is happening, every keyword and pieces of information that people are looking for in Google search, they create signals at Google that we capture. And we anonymize those signals, and then we reuse them in that specific cloud offering, the demand forecasting. So in that product, in that industry solution, a retailer, for instance, will come with a lot of history information, sales, product catalog, everything that was happening in the past for a retail environment. We will come with everything that is Google specific, which is the machine learning model plus the Google secret signals, and all together they will produce demand signal predictions and insights. So very nice offering, leveraging both customer data and very, very specific Google proprietary capabilities. And last but not least, not yet, the platform. So we were talking about solutions. Here, I'm going to go more at a more technical level for everyone, every developer, data scientist, data engineer, anyone interested in machine learning and having to develop new ML model, deep learning models, and so on and so forth. We announced the new AI platform. So the code name changes. Sometimes you may have heard about the unified platform or the new AI platform or the new marvelous, exciting, incredible AI platform, something like that. So what it does is that based on all the AI ML building blocks that are available today within GCP, we are recreating a new platform to make sure that everyone in an ML project can collaborate efficiently. So of course, the platform will contain or does contain notebooks, so that Jupyter notebooks, so that people comfortable with notebook can keep on working and working efficiently. The notebooks themselves, they're going to have access to different VM images that are already pre-built, pre-populated, pre-configured. So you can choose the VM of your choice depending on the needs you have for your project. You're going to be able to choose from different pre-built images using CPU, GPU, even TPUs if you want to go a step further. We want to be able to support the end-to-end ML lifecycle. So if you're familiar with the MLOps practice, which is really the end-to-end lifecycle, the AI platform is supporting MLOps through AI pipelines. So then you go through the pipeline, you're going to be able to do a lot of different stuff. I will go one step further next slide on this one. And of course, we'll keep supporting all the ML popular frameworks, TensorFlow, Keras, PyTorch, and so on and so forth. The platform, the AI platform, is part of the Google platform, so it integrates with everything that is needed for data collection, storage, and processing. So all the different services that has been covered already since we started that session, actually. Just a word on the MLOps and platform. So the pipelines are part of the platform, and they are targeting the different steps to be able to support an ML project, extract data, validate it, prepare, and modify. So do some feature engineering before you can train the model, then do some evaluation on the model, and based on the evaluation, then deploy the model if the evaluation is correct. The pipeline itself support two different technologies to be able to do that: TensorFlow Extended and Kubeflow. The last announcement is around the infrastructure itself. So you may have heard about TPUs in the past, which are the TensorFlow processing units. It exists for some time now. What we have announced GA is the TPU pods. So it's a bunch of TPU all together, assembled to really become supercomputers. If you compare the power of course, GPU versus CPU, there's an improvement. TPU, there's another improvement, and pods, it's a whole different world. As an example, at the bottom, I put some numbers on a specific use case, and something that was took 183 minutes with a TPU v3. It's going to be 7 minutes with a TPU pod. So nice improvement and nice new capabilities on that. I am only 3 minutes late, which is
Jill, good job.
spent.
Thank you so much. We have a lot of questions coming. Actually, I think there's few questions around BigQuery ML, so if you can help to answer them, I'll appreciate.
Yeah, I'll take a look at that now.
Yeah, we also have 17 people out of 45 who submitted surveys, so that's a great number. We're gonna draw the prizes soon, and we just thank you, GL. Thanks for helping our community. Like you always coming and help present about the ANML at our events, so very appreciated. Hope we'll see you soon again. And Huda, welcome.
Hi. Thank you, GL, and I appreciate the consideration for the time. You did a pretty cool job. I mean, you weren't rushed at all. So, battery status seems okay for my presentation. I'm trying to share the slides now, and just let me know once you see something.
Yay, we can see it.
Okay, perfect. So as GL explained just before, we have a lot of announcements. We've had a lot this year, so we won't be covering everything. I will be covering two solutions: the CCAI and the document AI, and then I'll be touching a little bit on explainable AI. So let's start with contact center AI. What is this? So what we have here is a solution. So CCAI is really a solution, it's not a product, which means that it's not available publicly. And you need to go with some of the partners to implement it. And it is implemented using a combination of GCP products, mainly technologies, mainly speech to text, text to speech, and dialect flow, as well as our partner products. So what's in there? What are we talking about here? It's really a bundle of a virtual agent and then a human agent assist and some insights with the CCAI insights. The objective here is really for basic customer requests to be taken care of right away. That will allow human agents to take over when necessary. And during the entire thing, the CCAI insights will follow the interactions, both on the Dialogflow CX and on the human agent, assisting the agent during the interactions and also providing useful insights and reports during, but also afterwards. I think nothing will explain this better than an actual demo. And here is the moment where I need to make sure that you can see.
We can see. Oh, unable to play.
All right, cool.
You have another link maybe that you can start. Let me check.
I actually just need to get out of the presenter probably,
yeah,
and put it on full screen.
Yeah. But we can't hear, I think.
So can you hear the sound?
Nope.
All right. So you can imagine that here we have a customer that asking about their own bank accounts, and the agent, and what you hear is actually the Google Assistant phone answering her. This is all information that was simple and pretty easy to handle by the agent. But then now that the customer is complaining that something's not fair, it would be transferred to a human agent. And as the agent is talking to the customer, you also get some insights that you can see on the right screen of the screen, where, for example, they get to suggest them an unlimited data plan so that they wouldn't be charged for overdrafting fees. It is cooler with the sound, but I'm trying to make it up for it. But I guess that's pretty much what I wanted to show you, and we'll be providing the links, or you can find the links on the documentation part itself.
I will actually share the video here as well, just so people can see it with the voice. So don't worry about that. The demo didn't go as expected, so it's
it's fine. Just if you can let me know that you still can see the slides themselves.
Yes, we can see the slides.
Okay, so basically this entire service is really aiming to improve both the customer experience and the agent experience to help them to be more efficient and to maybe prevent some churn. In terms of what is new, so for the Dialogflow CX block, you have a new UI with drag and drop builders. You have native support for 20K intent per agent, support for sentiment and custom voices, although the voices I think are still in private beta. There's also the use of advanced NLU technologies and CI/CD pipelines for both deployment. From the agent assist side, there's a live transcription for all the calls. Like the entire call, it has a transcription with it, as well as the suggestions that you could see in the video, some intent identification in order to guide the conversation flow. There's also the smart reply and smart compose, which is similar, and you might be familiar with what we have on Gmail, for example, as well as, again, the custom voice. And from the CCAI Insight, so CCAI Insight is a really interesting part that really gives an end-to-end visualization and also a lot of tools, for example, for effective QA. So you can do a review of the conversation, look at the interactions, and really analyze maybe what went wrong if a customer is complaining, or just looking at how things are going. It does provide conversation analytics and search and query metadata. So this is really to give you a quick idea about the solution. And for sake of time, I'm not going to go into more depth. And the second service I'm going to talk about is the Document AI. And what Document AI addresses, it really addresses the issue of having unstructured data. So about 80% of enterprise data is unstructured. We have really different data types. So you can have charts, emails, documents, receipts, etc. And with time, there was really a lot of document that was gathered. So we have a lot of data that's either human generated or machine generated. For example, the satellite images or the sensors, etc. And not only is it the volume. So first, the volume makes that there is a lot of information to process. And with this, there could be some risk of customer dissatisfaction, or, for example, compliance issues, information get lost. But there's also the diversity. So you have diverse data types, and we also have external knowledge and external data sources that will be referenced in these documents with semantic depth that will link entities within the documents. So what the Document AI API provides is a document understanding solution that would take the unstructured data, such as those document emails, etc., and makes the data easier to understand, analyze, and consume by providing structure through the content classification, extraction, entity extraction, advanced searching, etc. So basically, the flow would be see what's in there, understand what's in it, and then make it useful. So for the see what's in there, there's the part. Or reading the data, we have use of the OCR technology for text, character, and image recognition. Again, here you have about 200 languages that are supported, language recognition, and there's a specific form OCR solution that can be provided as a bit offering. The understand what's in it part is mainly the natural language. So it could be using AutoML natural language to classify the content, detect the sentiments, extract entities, analyze syntax, etc. So what I'll be showing you is a couple of examples. Here is using a form processor. So we can see the different sections that are highlighted, the single tick that can be shown over here. Another example would be the form parser that will extract headers and line item fields. For example, invoice number, the supplier name, etc. So on the right, really
moving. Huda, can you refresh maybe, because I don't see the slides are moving, or is still on the contact center AI slide?
Okay, sorry. This probably from my internet. Here. So you didn't see any of these, right? The document AI?
We see document AI now.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'm just going to show you the examples then. So with all the technology that I was talking about, we can see, for example, here some field highlights in the loan agreement form. We can also, can you see the slide that's called Unlocking Insights with Document AI?
Yes.
Okay, so here we have an example of the form parser that extracts both the header, the header and the line item fields. So you can see invoice number, supplier name, the invoice amount, the tax amount, etc. Sorry. And on the right side, you can really see the fields and the annotations that could be extracted with the Document AI solution. So this is really the overview and the interest of the Document AI, and this solution really has also specific applications in different sectors, such as, for example, the lending processing, mortgage demand processing, the tax forms as well. So you can see really some specific processors that could be available to use. So 115. Okay. With all the information, and we are aware that we really did not go in depth into the details of AI and ML news, but we still wanted to cover part of explainable AI because it does apply for all these applications that we have been talking about. And before talking about explainable AI specifically, I wanted to explain where it sits under the umbrella of responsible AI. So I think companies are really putting efforts into being more responsible, bringing awareness about fairness, about privacy, etc., and a good and social use of AI. So responsible AI is this big umbrella that encompasses all those little subsections, and that makes sure that AI benefits society. So we would have part of it is fairness, but it is important not to confuse fairness with explainability, as fairness is here really to make sure that models are not reinforcing biases and that they treat all the users fairly. So although explainability can help ensure fairness, it has broader application that can be unrelated to that. And here explainability will be really understanding how and why a machine makes the predictions that it makes. So let's see what are the offerings that we have. First, for the images. Oops. Can you confirm that you have the image slide?
Yes.
Okay. We have built-in visualization capabilities for the image data. So when you request an explanation on image classification models with the visualization configured, you will get a predicted class along with the images overlay that would show which pixels or which region contribute to the prediction. And this would be used in either the integrated gradient method or the X-ray method. So integrated gradient will really highlight the area of positive attributions, and this is a pixel level, whereas the X-ray method will highlight the areas with more or less influence. And by areas here, I mean regions. So you'd have this gradient that will go from more influence, that is yellow, to less influence, which would be the blue on the positive prediction. Now, which one do you use? It's really dependent on what you're looking for. So the X-ray will tend to be better with natural images and provide a better high-level summary of insights. For example, here it shows that a specific region, that actually the shape of the head of the dog is the important part, whereas the integrated gradient will provide details at the pixel level, and it will be useful for uncovering more granular attributions. Now, these can be easily configurable with the Explainable AI SDK. So the SDK comes pre-installed on notebook instances, and you can just configure, if you want, the explainable metadata JSON file by typing by defining the type of visualization you want, and other changing the other fields, and all the details of the fields are actually very well explained on the documentation itself. So this was for the image part. We also have Explainable AI for tabular features. So for tabular feature, we can have you might already be important with global feature importance. What we have here, and that's interesting, is also the local feature importance as well as the attribution value. So local feature importance is really how individual features in a specific prediction request will affect the resulting prediction as compared to the baseline. So for one example that you want to predict on, how, like, which features were actually important, and the baseline here is defined by the median value for numeric features and the mode for categorical features. Something maybe I didn't mention previously is that for the images, it's also based on a different compared to baseline as well, and you would define your baseline as a completely black, completely white image, unless you have a specific data set. But this is more into the details themselves. Here, where we can see is, for example, for a bike renting shop, how long would one client rent the bike? And what we can see here is both the feature values and attribution values, and the attribution are really again relative to the baseline, and we can see that the distance. Well, maybe I would not. Okay, for time, I'm not going to go into the details, but please, if you have questions or you want more details about this, just let me know. But here, the question is, why would you even care? So who needs explainable AI? The two groups are going to be actually the model builder. So if you're making the model within your entire cycle of define your architectures, evaluation based on the metrics, and then being like, okay, it works, or okay, it's not performing that well. Well, you could get your answers about why is my model not performing, or maybe how can I make the model better. Just how can I make the model better? And one of the examples of this, how can I make the model better, is usually you would be training on large model with wide variety of available signals. So your features are, maybe a very, very long list. And then you'd be refitting a slimmer model by removing signals that were not considered influential So by this, what you have is reducing the models in memory and compute footprint without really sacrificing much of the quality. And actually, some situations make that, if you do this, you will maybe improve your model because you have fewer signals, but they are really high quality. And then the other reason you would be using this is to close a loop with the end user and the stakeholders, because you understand the ins and outs of your model, but then you need to explain, and you need to explain for the stakeholders because they give the go or no go, but also for the end user that needs to trust you. So you'll be establishing a level of trust because you have images or some kind of visualization that are easier to understand. You will have clarity over the model's behavior, and you'll be able to define fallback policies to avoid some catastrophic failures. And this is an important part as well. Something I didn't really cover here, but that you really need to keep in mind is that these are just some hints about your model. So there are a lot of limitations, and you need to be very careful when using this. So for example, a single attribution might not reflect the overall behavior of the model if you're going for the local feature importance. Also, that attributions alone are not telling you if your model is fair or unbiased, or even if it's a sound quality. So you need to evaluate your training data set procedure and evaluate your metrics. And then these attributions and importance are going to depend entirely on the model and the data that you use to train. So if you look at them, and then all you can do is maybe ask yourself, okay, is there an issue with my data set? Is there an issue with how I collected the info? Am I really using the correct information? The explanation are only going to tell you the pattern that the model found in the data, and they cannot detect any fundamental relationships in the data. This is an exercise that you need to do as an extra. So, well, here was just one example that I wanted to show where we have, by using the explainable AI SDK, we can see that there's a clustering around an odd region on this X-ray. And then when we look further, we can see that there are pen marks, like the doctors left some marks on the image. So the model learned to rely on these pen marks, which is not a desirable behavior that you want. So definitely this model would have not generalized well to unseen or to new instances if it had been deployed. This is just to give you an idea of maybe what you can do with that. I have more links and information if needed.
So we actually
that we will be
share the
providing
slides
as well.
now. I prepared the link. I'm gonna put it now actually here. So the slide will be shared under this link. It's still uploading right now, so take some time to become available. But Huda, thank you so much for preparing all this information, and just check if there's any questions in Dory for you to answer. But thank you so much, and I think we're moving to another interesting part of the event, which is we're gonna ramp up, and we going to make a quick draw. So let me just share my screen. Can you please stop sharing, Huda? Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen. I actually uploaded all the possible winners. So we took the information from the survey. I don't know. Oh, actually, I have a few more. So give me a second. I will upload more. Last call for the survey. Just want to make sure everybody have a chance. Fair to everybody. Okay. Yes, first of all, thank you so much for your feedback. It's been great so far. We wanted feedback to have more demos. Was a feedback to to have hands-on. We obviously want to do this, but just given a lot of the announcements, and we want to make sure everybody can have time to digest everything. But for sure, we'll have more events that will focus more on hands-on study jams, hands-on labs, and whatnot. So we're looking forward for these events. With that, I think I'm ready to make a first draw. So the first, we're going to draw the Google Kubernetes mask. Okay, so we have 2 Kubernetes masks and 1 Google TV. So drum rolls. let's go, guys. I think the organizers can go back online if you don't mind. So, and somebody help me to drum roll.
Go, Archie.
All right. So Stefan Godin, he is gonna get the Kubernetes face mask, and I want to make sure I have the email so I can reach out to him. So okay, we'll have another Kubernetes mask. Drum rolls. All right, Eddie, congratulations. Now you can be safe in the style. So let's mask. All right, so now we're going for the main part, which is Google TV. So the brand new Google TV, I already got one for myself, but all right, so who is the lucky winner?
You can show me a bit screen.
Share screen, Archie.
All right, Nilesh, congrats. All right, so I think I'll reach out to Nilesh, Google TV. Is Nilesh here? Actually, let's check if he's here. Just to make sure. Okay, he's here.
Yeah,
Great.
he is. Yeah, he's.
Google TV goes to Nilesh. I'll reach out to you. Okay, guys, thank you so much. So we shared the links for the slides, and we gonna upload the video of this meetup onto GDG platform, so you'll be able to access it shortly. Thank you for all your surveys. We're also providing some useful links that is kind of helps you to access all the videos from the Google Next, all the talks, study jams in the slides. And I want to really say thank you to this amazing team of organizers and the new organizers who joined. And also I want to say thank you to the amazing speakers that help us to organize this event. And we will look forward. We'll check your survey results, and we'll try to plan the next event. Depends what you really want. Maybe some study jam, maybe some hands-on lab. We'll see. But with that, I want to say thank you very much. I'm going to stop recording. And if you want to